with a duffel bag, one key, one bus card, one last tag. Mama moved, phone dead, rent due. I know the block, but the block don't know you. Paperwork thick like a brick wall. Every form say sign here, I stall. Online page keep asking me to prove what I spent years trying to get loose. First day home, I don't sleep much. Window half open, hearing loose cuffs. My hands still shake when the door latch clicks. Still count steps like a cell block shift. I tell myself breathe, keep pace, but the same old alley got a new face. And everybody say keep your head up, like clean is easy when the whole world fed up. 72 hours, that's the test. Keep my feet on the floor, keep calm in my chest. 72 hours, don't let me slip. I need a steady hand and somebody to pick up. Who do I turn to? Who do I turn to? First 3 days, I need something true. Who do I turn to? Who do I turn to? Oh, I'm a returning neighbor too. Who do I turn to?
We are conditioned to expect a very specific narrative when someone gets out of prison. The heavy iron gates swing open, the sun is shining, and years of hardship supposedly dissolve into immediate relief. But when Mike returned home to Philadelphia after 15 years, there was no joyful cinematic montage. He suffered a severe emotional breakdown, paralyzed by anxiety and crying uncontrollably as the pressure of the outside world came crashing down. Society expects returning citizens to seamlessly step back into their roles as employees and fathers. We ignore the reality that they are carrying invisible, heavy psychological wounds through those gates. The carceral adaptation paradox explains why. Years of imprisonment act as a form of intense, specialized training. It shapes a person to fit the geometry of a cage, creating an internal architecture that does not easily unfold in a borderless world. High recidivism rates and failed reentries aren't necessarily a failure of the individual to adjust. Often, they are proof of the carceral system's success in rewiring the human brain. To understand why the brain modifies itself, we have to look at the extreme environmental baseline of prison. Psychiatrist Dr. Craig Haney calls this the deprivation model. It is a system that operates by stripping away autonomy, sensory stimulation, and social connection. In solitary housing, this deprivation is absolute. An individual spends 23 hours a day in a concrete cell the size of a parking space, with no environmental variation or human contact. In densely packed dormitories, the stress is different, but equally intense. There is a total lack of privacy, constant noise, and the perpetual threat of routine violence. This concentration of negative stimuli acts as a psychopathological accelerator. It forces the nervous system into a state where the brain is forced to alter its defensive architecture. Inside this environment, men develop divergent masculinity. This is a survival mechanism that requires the suppression of all emotional vulnerability. The rules are simple. Showing fear or sadness makes an individual a target. Trusting others invites exploitation. To stay safe, individuals compress their emotional range. Their feelings are systematically clamped down until they can witness violence and trauma without displaying any outward reaction. Over a span of years, these survival tactics solidify into Post-Incarceration Syndrome, or PICS. It is a discrete subtype of PTSD, defined by social sensory disorientation and extreme alienation. By the time a man's sentence is complete, his mind is no longer tuned for human connection or community. It has been recalibrated to survive a high-threat environment. Faster, more urgent tone. This leads to a violent shock upon release. A person steps from a highly controlled, deprived environment directly into the chaotic reality of civil society. Simple civilian environments trigger acute sensory overload. Navigating a crowded street or taking public transit becomes a barrage of unpredictable stimuli. The hypervigilance that once kept a man alive inside a cell now manifests as a paralyzing panic attack faced with a dense crowd. This emotional numbing also prevents returning fathers from forming necessary bonds with their children and partners. The armor they built in prison blocks the vulnerability required for love. Some men deploy the ultimate prison defense mechanism, total isolation. They barricade themselves in their bedrooms, avoiding their families to mimic the controlled safety of solitary confinement. It is a tragic irony. The behavioral traits guaranteeing survival on the inside are the same ones destroying his life on the outside. Many men try to push through this trauma using John Henryism, a relentless, active effort to meet societal expectations of being a provider, despite immense psychological stress. But this internal struggle eventually hits a wall of systemic barriers. Housing discrimination, employment stigma, and a lack of mental health care create a world that remains hostile to their presence. At this intersection of internal emotional burnout and external systemic rejection, psychological resilience breaks. Under this overwhelming pressure, some engage in self-sabotage. They choose the predictable, structured safety of a prison cell over the chaotic hostility of a society that refuses to let them in. A bus ticket and a job application are useless if we ignore the invisible wounds of PICS. Until we address the trauma of carceral survival, true freedom will remain a myth.
Welcome everybody to another edition of the Returning Neighbors podcast. This is episode 102. What's going on, fellas? What's up? How y'all feeling this morning, fellas?
Good. I'm great. How y'all feeling?
I feel good, man. A blessing to be here among the living, bro. Out,
Yes, sir.
you know.
I can't hear Rick and Neil now.
Can you hear me now?
I barely can hear you. I don't know. I changed my camera. I hit that camera icon. Everybody kind of went mute, low key.
There should be next to the camera icon, there should be a settings icon, and that you can adjust audio. But while we get that done, let's talk about post-incarceration syndrome and the effects of mental illness post-incarceration. We got Oso da Don, aka our resident street peer expert, our peer support navigator. I'm gonna let him make his introduction to y'all on the podcast. This is the first day on the podcast.
What's going on, y'all? My name is Oso da Don, better known as Bear in this community down here in Jackson, Michigan. I did 21 years incarcerated. I went to prison when I was 16. I've been home a little over 6 years now. And I've just been helping, the formerly incarcerated individuals that return to my community with trying to get vital documents, trying to get, registered to vote, just giving them all the information that they need, all the resources that they need, all the ones that I can provide to try to help an individual with a softer landing when they come home from incarceration. So,
My guy, appreciate you. Blake, man, introduce yourself as well.
How you doing, everybody? My name is Blake Lindsay. I am chairman of Power to People First, also CEO of No Excuses Initiative. I am a returning citizen. I've been home for 3 years, doing a lot of grassroots initiative work, but also did 14 and a half years of incarceration. So I definitely have experience with this matter.
Nice. And we got my brother Rick and Ills back.
Co-owner and founder of Free People, the president of Pop First, advocate,
yeah, I can't hear Rick and Neil.
We could barely hear you, brother. I don't know what happened to your sound.
I can't hear you
Barely
neither,
hear you.
brother.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay. Should I repeat what I just said?
It's lag.
I'm an advocate. I'm also a returning citizen. I've been home 26 years now, man. I'm helping other returning citizens get back to society, man.
I don't know what's going on, brother, but we could barely hear you. It's like real bad.
I'm gonna log out and log back in.
Oh, well, you sound clear now. So maybe it's the closeness to your device. Maybe you just got to stay closer to the device.
I'm right up on top of my desktop. I'm on
Okay.
top.
Yeah, we can hear you good now.
Okay.
So today we're talking about we're talking about lived experiences and the impacts of extreme isolations. Um, the reality of isolation is studies consistently show that solitary confinement lasting longer than 15 days can cause severe long-term psychological damage, including panic attacks, paranoia, and cognitive delay. So I got a question for Oso first. People who haven't been in solitary, they think that it's just like alone time. Can you walk us through those first few days, those first few hours? What happens to the mind when you're completely stripped of human contact and that environment, like environmental stimulation? What happens to your mindset when that happens?
Uh, I mean, well, first of all, anytime you go to segregation, like they take you and they put you in a holding cell, or normally it's a shower, and they strip you down and search you, right? You know what I'm saying? So initially, you going through the embarrassment of you getting stripped and violated in a way that not everybody really understands until you got another grown man, you know what I'm saying, checking every crevice of your body, you know what I'm saying? When that on it by itself is enough to drive you to not want to be in segregation, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But
definitely.
so you got that, and depending on what day it is, because you're only getting 3 showers a week, you know what I'm saying? And you know that you're not going to be talking to anybody. You isolated. You can't call your family. Now the only way you're going to be able to reach out to your family is to send a snail mail letter and hope that the officer that picks up your mail that night when you put it in your door actually puts it in the mailbox and actually sends it out. You know what I'm saying? Instead of just throwing it away. But you have no way to reach out. So for me, anytime that I went to segregation, the first thing I thought about was my family and making sure I let them know that, hey, I'm okay. You know what I'm saying? I am in segregation, but I am physically, okay as best I can be. And then so for me, I would just try to get into a routine of I would sleep during the day when 95% of the population is up. So I could avoid them. I could avoid hearing that throughout the day, throughout the cells, hearing the noise on the rock and the yelling and all that. So I would try to avoid that. And then throughout the night, I would stay up and I would have as wild as it sounds, as had some peace. You know what I'm saying in there. And I tell everybody this. I mean, it's in my poetry. It's in my them 4.5 steps and then turning. You know what I'm saying? 4.5 steps and turning, and you're like, okay, if you ain't never seen that, you go to a zoo. You ever seen that lion in that cage and when he's just going back and forth and back and forth, he's just pacing because he wants to get out.
Yeah.
That was me. You know what I'm saying? And that's essentially how I I did it. Right? I just would pace, and I would think, and I would just tell myself that I'm better than my circumstances. You know what I'm saying? I would have to
Hmm.
tell myself that every day, like, hey, I'm better than my circumstances. Yeah, I messed up. I made a mistake. I'm here now, but I'm better than my circumstances, and I can't let this defeat me. You know what I'm saying? And so like, what kept me going was like, I know this sounds crazy and it sounds prideful, and maybe it is, but like the fact that I'm not gonna let you break me. You know what I'm saying? Even though you got me in these situations where I've seen greater men fall and greater men break. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not gonna let you break me. I would die before you break me. You know what I'm saying? Before I let my mother see me like really affected and really going through like I you know what I'm saying, I would die. So that's what drove me to. But also in there, I believe that my isolation led to my elevation, right? So I isolated even further in isolation. I didn't come to the door and try to talk to my neighbors. I didn't try to yell through the door, try to talk to the guy across the hall. I covered my window and I stayed to myself, you know what I'm saying? And I stayed with myself for a long time. And a lot of people can't do that. But at that time, that's how I comforted myself because I didn't know nobody else. And that was my whole thing. Like I don't know nobody in prison. I'm 16 years old. I went to Hole on my 17th birthday. Like literally went
Right.
to Hole on my 17th birthday. So like I'm in segregation. I'm in there, and it's just like I can't let this break me. You know what I'm saying? It's not fun. It's you start. I immediately started talking to myself. It didn't take 72 hours. It took 3.
Yeah.
You know, and so you start doing that. You start becoming familiar with yourself. And for me, I just started trying to find a routine so I can make the time pass.
Yeah, definitely. Now, you did mention this a little bit, like that mental strategy that you had to survive the whole, like you have to find a way to anchor your mind. And you mentioned that, like, part of your strategy, like you wasn't just going to let them break you. What did you see it do to guys who didn't have a strategy? Why did you know that you had to have that mental strategy?
Well, because so the you would you would talk to an individual like through the door in segregation, and then like years later or whenever you would get out and maybe you would see these individuals on the yard, and we're still locked up, but we're not 24 hours a day. And these are two totally completely different people. Like the person that was inside the cell, he was eating bars of soap, you know what I'm saying? Like banging smearing grease all over his window, banging, throwing feces and urine and stuff like that. And then gets out of that cell and onto the yard where he has some time out of his cell and GP, and he can communicate with people. And he's not doing none of that. He's not eating no bars of soap. He's talking to you like a regular individual. He has, you know what I'm saying, no no idiosyncrasies that make you think, oh yeah, this guy is crazy. But if you heard him in the cell while he was in segregation, you like, damn, like he really going through it. Like guys start playing in their own feces and stuff like that. Like when you start seeing that type of stuff, you know that behavior ain't normal, and that the cell is what caused that. You know what I'm saying? Because before then, you wasn't doing that.
Right quick,
You-
do you think it's the cell that causes that, or do you think it's the confinement of you being to yourself in the condition that you put in? Because once you get put in that, once you get, so for example, at a young age, we used to, some of our parents used to put us on timeout, right? So some of us used to be on punishments. I remember my mother used to put me on punishment and take away certain things and put me in the room for a long period of time after I just got to finish getting a whooping or a beating, and I go into my room, and at first, I'm cursing and this and that, but when I calm down, I'm not showing the same reactions like what you say, to do things out of the ordinary because of the environment and the condition that I'm put in. So when that person is put in an environment and a condition to itself, like you said, when you first got there, you secluded yourself away from, not just from everybody, but from the people that was walking past that window, and even to your neighboring individuals. So when you secluded yourself, your thoughts that you had going on your mind at the beginning, if you was angry, if you was like you said, you not gonna let them break you or whatever, those are the conversations you was having with yourself, inside of yourself, with those individuals that may have been eating soap or may have been doing harm to themselves, because some people get in themselves, man, and find a way to start cutting themselves, biting the inside of your mouth out, chewing on your own flesh. Those things are caused to give not just attention to the place where you at, because at one point the guard had to walk by and make sure that you was in there. You know what I'm saying? To make sure that you was still alive, or that you wasn't going through whatever you was going through. That maybe may cause a person to do more damage to themselves or lash out to other individuals. So my point to say what I'm just saying is, do you think it caused the environment issue of him being enclosed in that environment caused him to alter his thoughts in a way that he felt that he had to do it? Then once he got out of that environment, he went back to his regular self.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the environment
I would
definitely
say,
affects.
go ahead.
I was gonna say that the environment definitely affects how you react. You know what I'm saying, and how you act throughout the day. Like sometimes, like people, I seen individuals they can't sit with themselves. You know what I'm saying, and the more you sit with yourself, and you don't understand who you are. You got a lot of these guys got a lot of demons and stuff they battling with inside within their head. You know, like Justin was saying the other day, he was saying that he had ADHD. So put him in that cell at a time when he got ADHD. You know what I'm saying? The cell don't move. You know what I'm saying? It don't move. The walls look like they closing in on you, but it don't move. So you stuck in there. So that as much as your mind is moving and moving and moving and racing, but you not moving and you can't go nowhere. Like the effect that has on individuals it's documented that it's not there's nothing healthy about this situation. You know what I'm saying? It causes more trauma. It causes more pain and than anything.
But no, and I definitely can attest to that, man. So collectively, I did about 5, 6 years collectively in the whole. My longest stretch I ever did was a year. And when I tell you this, seen the experience what you guys are talking about. In addition, have also had to wrap around myself of being active, being a person that like to move around, and also having that level of anger and aggression at a young age, right? And actually being put in the cell and being that confined. I was one of those guys who were being disruptive to the because I have no outlet or outreach to express my anger or express my frustrations or even have the understanding what I was actually dealing with. I was thinking about it. By the time I looked up, I was 19 years old, doing a whole year in prison, I mean, a whole year in segregation, and being catching the case and going to level 5, and had to do another sit down on top of that. So it took a big turnaround. But yeah, having that, I can definitely speak on the people who actually been through that experience, because that's definitely something that is a very traumatic.
Man, you guys mentioned something that a lot of people don't understand. Like, I know you just said you ended up having to go to level 5. Was that due to an incident that occurred when you first got in?
Yeah. So when I was at Oast Correctional Facility, right? And I can speak on it. I was at Oast Correctional Facility, and I ended up getting into it. I'm not gonna speak on very particulars about what happened, but I ended up getting into it with a guy, and we got into the altercation. I ended up stabbing him a couple of times. Ended up stabbing him a couple of times and actually catching the case. It was mainly self defense. It wasn't.
Yeah.
I was 19 years old. The guy was think he could test me and push me into doing not nothing sexual, but pushing me and pressuring me to pay him something. Cause was about to do it off the bag that I was shaking, and I ended up getting into it with him,
Yeah.
stabbing him,
The
ended up
reason
catching the
why I asked
case,
you
and
to
ended up
bring
going
that
taking
up.
myself to level 5.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, brother. I don't mean to cut you off. But the reason why I brought that up is because so that people can understand the mindset of the man or the woman when you're incarcerated. You're in this environment where you have to remain hyper vigilant. You have to be on guard. You have to develop all of these new type of personalities. They may be new to you, or you may develop habits just to survive, right? They become survival mechanisms.
Yeah,
Um, and,
definitely.
and that's the reason why I wanted you to mention that, because it kind of leads into my next question. Um, we're all about reentry, and we're talking about this idea of reintegrating back into society. And how hard is it to change your mindset once released from survival mindset to free?
Uh, I still ain't changed. I've been home 6 years and some change. I still ain't changed mine
Oh,
from survival.
I'll go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I still ain't changed. I don't know who it's for, but I still ain't
I,
changed mine. I tell everybody that, like, all the time, like, I don't know if anybody ever seen the Jason Bourne movies, but the first Jason Bourne movie, he was in the cafe with old girl, and he was telling her, like, yeah, I know how big this guy is. I know I can run this fast. I know the exits over here. I know this, that, and the third. Like, where the best place to look for a gun, blase speak. Like, and that's how I am. Like, I walk into any situation, I immediately analyze everybody to who is a threat and who isn't a threat. You know what I'm saying? And I continue to do it like I would if I was in the chow hall. I walk in the chow hall, I scan that mug immediately, see who's in here, see if there's anybody, you know what I'm saying? And my people, like, to this day still say, Like, man, you got to get out of survival mode. You got to get out of, you know what I'm saying, out of that. How do I get out of that?
How tiring is that for you to deal with?
I mean, it
And
becomes
I'm gonna
tiring. You know what I'm
attest to
saying?
that.
But I've been doing it my whole life, right? So it's just second nature to me. And then until it catches up and it be like, damn, well, okay, maybe there is a lot of extra shit on my plate right now that doesn't need to be there. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm still holding on to the survival mode. You know, but it's it's in me because I went to prison so young, and it's just hard. It's hard to shake it. You know what I'm saying? And then if my I think subconsciously my fear is that if I shake it, why do I want to shake it when that's what helped me survive, you know what I'm saying, through these most gruesome times, these most wretched times I was facing. Like, I survived that through this. So, like, shit, why else would I, you know what I'm saying? Why would I change it up if that's what helped me survive this whole time? You know what I'm saying? So, like, I battle with myself daily on that. You know what I'm saying? Like, being the guy. I don't want to be the guy that everybody's afraid of, or be the guy that has no problem fighting or resort to violence, right? I don't want to be that guy. You know what I'm saying? I never wanted to be that guy. You know, because of the situation, yes. Do I appear that to be that guy sometimes? Yes. I want to be him. No. You know what I'm saying? But it's just changing the adaptation of what I got going on is hard. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
definitely.
like right quick, I'm gonna iterate on what you're saying, bro. You know, I've been home 26 years, man, and that's one of the things that I can't shake either. You know, is a survival tactic. I'm quite sure it's what everybody that spent over 5 years in prison acquired that survival tactic. So when you walking into a room, you scan that whole room, man. You never sit, and you learn that in prison. You don't never sit your back towards the door. You know what I'm saying? You look for all the exits. You know, so I use it as a mechanism to scan the environment that I'm in. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, when you walk into a room, when you walk into a room, especially we're going to an event where other returning citizens is at, that you may have been locked up with some people. You look around the room to see somebody that you recognize, and that person that you recognize that you know, you want to get eye contact with them so they can see because they doing the same thing. That's how I met Blake. We doing the same thing. We looking around and I
Mm-hmm.
see that brother. And when I walk
That's
in
why.
the room, you know, it's a sin. You got to be on. You got to be before time to get on time. Sometimes I might drive past a place before the event even start just to see if I know somebody there or do I see somebody familiar. And I learned that from prison. So it ain't nothing bad. It's a survival tactic because you watching everybody else is doing what they doing, you know what I'm saying, so you can see if somebody about to get out of pocket and people recognize you because I've been to events where I could tell if a brother just came home because he's doing the same thing I'm doing. All I gotta do is sit there and look around the room and I'm gonna figure out, okay, that's a person just came home from prison because he's not interacting with nobody until you get them to interact with. When you get to them interacting, then they open up. But then now it's like you watching his back and you watching he watching your back. And that's how it be. So I don't look at that as something being bad. It's just something that we have learned while we in prison because we don't want nobody walking up behind us. We don't want to be standing. The 6 feet rule was in prison way before the COVID came out. You didn't want people on top of you. If I was on the phone and you was, and it's a line on the phone, the line starts at least 6 feet away from where you at, so another person can't hear my conversation. You know what I'm saying? So we still do that. We still do that to this day.
Yeah, for sure. And all of it isn't a bad thing. It's just that when we're talking about coming back into society, we start to realize that some of these traits might not necessarily match all the way for being free in the real world. Like when we inside the joint, we have that lack of trust issues, right? So to keep ourselves safe,
Yeah.
right? We don't trust anybody and we don't allow people in. And that's good to help us survive in the joint, but that don't always help us survive once we're free, right? We realize we get to some situations where we do have to extend a hand of trust, or all of the prison rules and things that applied in prison, they don't necessarily apply in the joint, in the free world, right?
Yeah, and I definitely can attest to that.
Absolutely.
The survival tactics that I've used in prison, as far as matching people energy, if necessary, who matches my aggression, matches aggression, or when it comes to seeing people and sizing people up and try to move a certain way when I being around certain individuals, I had to really adjust myself, really readjust myself. I can not keep moving in that accord dealing with everybody that getting out of prison. Now, to the benefit of what Dion and also we're talking about, it has helped with the benefits of being on survival mode and actually being alert and aware of your surroundings consistently, right? But the way as far as the way how we were programmed, I think it doesn't always fit out here in society. Everybody's not out here to come and get you or be or what to stab you in your back or put a play or manipulate you into certain situations. Not everybody's have those level of intentions. Not everybody's gonna be
Mm-hmm.
aggressive. A lot of people are not as or the people that are portraying to be other than what you see in prison. And what I
Mm-hmm.
mean by that is people that are going to be violent or people that's going to actually be a threat to you. Being in those environments, we cannot and being out here, we cannot move in the same accordance, or we're going to be honest, we're back in prison.
Yeah, that's a fact. You know, I've been out 11 years, and I just recently like stopped sizing people up. When like sizing men up that you don't know. You meet a guy for the first time. Mentally in your head, you kind of look them over, like, how's this guy could be a threat to me. What would happen if he was a threat. I kind of work those situations out in my head almost anytime I interact with another man, and it took a long time for me to drop that in. You know what I'm saying? And not even think about that kind of stuff. So I understand like some of those after effects of it, but we really want to dive into like that mental aspects of, when you come in home and you're trying to change gears from that mindset to that freedom mindset, man. That's something that I think a lot of people struggle with. What
Right
you
quick.
got, Dion?
I remember, man. I remember me and Blake was at this event. I'm gonna recall this, and you're gonna remember this, Blake. We went to this event, and it was at this place in what they call it's on Grand River, but it was a store, a mall like. So where Farmer Mills was at. So we went upstairs and we was in there. They had, no matter of fact, it was at that wholesale food place. Remember when we went there? But anyway, they had an event there, and it was two security guards there, right? And the two security guards that were securing the location, the two security guards that were securing the location back in the day, Blake had beef with this guy. You know what I'm saying? But they in their full armor. You know what I'm saying? They got their walkie talkies, they got their bulletproof vests on. They look like the police. So we in there after I'm scanning the room. I'm talking to Blake, and I went over to talk to one of the guys, right? So when me and Blake walked up to the guy, Blake recognized him and was like, "Man, I remember you back in the day. They used to be beefing back in the day, right?" So
Yeah,
when the interaction came, it could have went another. We talked about this, but it could have went another way. You know what I'm saying? Because Blake could have
totally
still had
left.
the beef that he had back then with this guy, considering what happened. I don't know if you want to explain to them what happened between you and this guy, but it was something that he definitely could have changed the trajectory of how we linked back up together. So at that point, Blake had to use his survival skills either we talked to the guy and he remembered the situation. We didn't bring that situation up, but we kind of connected in the sense of they could be more of an asset than a harm to what we was doing.
Yeah, I'll definitely speak on it. Back in the day, I was part of a gang called Young Certified Bosses, and the guy that who I met was part of another gang called Paper Chaser Boys. These are neighborhood affiliation gangs that were based out on Joy Road. Um, and and we were young. We used to be in those type of activities. We're opposition of each other. Were people, young guys called ops now. They were my ops at that point in time when I was 16, 17, and 18. And we used to, from fighting to actually going against each other with guns and everything. Our groups have done that. Now, when we met each other at the event, and it was that fundraising event where we were speaking about uh fundraising for businesses and how we would make this connections, right? So when we met up with each other, we met up each other, we seen who we are, I figure out who he was. But I also use the tactics that I learned in prison to de-escalate situations and also to, you know, not having that further escalate. But also I'm kind of glad that we both matured, that we didn't look at it from like we were just all young and we could have done a different route, because at that time he also been in prison. He did about 6-7 years, and he grew up, and he grew up in that aspect. So we actually came to a mutual understanding.
Yeah. I
It
just
was
brought
kind of a good thing, because it could have went totally left, like you said.
I brought that scenario up because a lot of times, when we in prison and for ones that's coming home, they may run across somebody that they had beef with back in the day, or even something might have happened in prison. Some of that stuff you got to leave in prison. Like I noticed, when people come home, if they had a situation with a person that's in prison and both individuals get out, some of that stuff you just got to leave where it was at, leave it in prison. Because if we bring it back out here, it's just like it's going to be a returning cycle. You know what I'm saying? I can escalate to something worse. Just like with certain organizations, a lot of people don't want to join certain organizations because of the affiliation with other individuals that may be in that organization. They feel that it ain't gonna work because so and so is part of this organization. We have that going on right now.
Yeah, yeah. All of that just becomes factors that get in the way of people, man, for they change. And I've been through that same situation, man. When I first came home, I had ran into a guy who snitched on me, right? And not only did he snitch on me, but he stole a bunch of stuff once I was incarcerated. And I remember I was just mad, man, and I was just coming home, so I was still on parole. And the dude, he sent me a message, man, on Facebook, and he basically screenshotted my parole officer with her phone number, and he basically said, like, man, if you want to stay free, I suggest you stay with that change your life pattern and not mess with me, because I'm gonna send you back.
We'll be back.
You know what I'm saying? And I remember being so angry and so upset, and I wanted to revert back to what we used to do in the joint. But I had to sit down and take an honest look at what he was saying. You know, yeah, I did change my life, and this should be past me. And if I want to say that I am what I am now, then I gotta let this go, right? But that's a hard struggle for a person when you have this conditioning of this mindset of, you know, it's eye for eye. You know what I'm saying?
I know. Hey, I know exactly how that feel. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
No, exactly. And I think about it from this aspect too. How can it's going to be a consistent struggle when that's been your reality for people 20 plus years? You got to think about a lot of people that are, we made these transitions to become better men in the most hostile or most restricted environments. We became transformed men in the most restrictive environments. Before then, we were in the streets. We made the decision to go to prison for a particular reason. Now, some people, men are innocent, but we actually made those decisions. And if you, even though you're making a transition to being a better man, but you're still in a hostile and a restrictive environment. So it's gonna be consistent struggle to actually make that change. I think it's gonna be daily after you've been conditioned for over a decade in that aspect.
Yeah, I know earlier. I know before we was having this conversation, before we got to this right here. We was talking about uh, the taking the chances of how things may not be going so right for yourself when you first when you get home. Like we talk, like your first 5 years, man. If you ain't been home, your first if you could reach 5 years of being out from incarceration, you at a point almost at the pinnacle of knowing how you gonna do some things. But that first 2-3 years, man, ones may have doubt in their mind because things may not be going the way they wanted to go, and they resort back to some of the things that they used to do, not full-fledged resort back to it, but some people do. But they take them chances and knowing that if a situation was to go sideways, they make up in their mind that they're not going back to prison. So if I do this, if I do this lick and get away with it, I'm good. But if I do this lick and something goes sideways with it, I'm holding court right there where it's at. You know what I'm saying? That's a conversation that we need to have to some of our returning citizens, because not to the fact of people getting into crime, but just to them resorting to things that alleviate their movement around, like the substance abuse. You know what I'm saying? Drinking and smoking. That could cause that's a death wish if you out here doing things not productive, and you get off into those kind of situations to where you feel that you got to drink or you got to take another drug to give you the courage to even go out and do something that may send you back to prison. So
Yeah, that's a fact.
So a lot of times we need to focus on, taking them chances, man, because, I know the first 3 years of me being home, I took like 2 penitentiary chances, and I'm not going back to prison. So luckily I got away with it, but on the second one I had to run from the police. You know what I'm saying? And getting away from the police it was a task where I was at. You know what I'm saying? So once I got away from that, that's what really embedded in my mind that I'm not taking no more chances of trying to get something that's going to just last for to pay a bill or just to feed somebody or whatever the circumstance was at that time. You know what I'm saying? And ones that may be home for a while, if they used to having money, then they're going to resort back to some of the ways that they used to get money, and they may get away with it, or they might not get away with it. But at the end of the day, their mindset is, I'm not going back to prison. So you can't talk them out of doing. If they about to get caught in the mix of doing what they're doing, you're not about to talk them out and not holding court in the street or wherever else they're going to be at getting
That's
proceeding.
that's why I think it's going to be important for us to have these conversations and discussing exactly why some of those survival traits that we adapt while we're inside, how they are counterproductive against what we're trying to do now. Because all of those things you mentioned, like suppressing your emotions, maintaining a hard exterior, total self-reliance, all of those things become barriers that prevent successful reintegration. We get the feeling like we got to do everything on our own. We can't ask for help. We get the feeling like we don't trust anybody to talk to anybody about our issues. And then that leads us down that road of where we feel like we have to do something to survive, and we justify in our minds, right? We justify in our minds, man. Look, man, I'm starving, so I'm about to go run up in this Walmart and steal me $1,000 worth of stuff because I'm starving, right? We'll start to justify it and make it okay to do that, but then when we get caught, that realization sinks back in. And I think we were talking about this earlier off camera. Also, with that mindset of like, I'm not going back to the joint. Once you realize, like, after you made this decision of this is my only option, if this don't work, then it's death, basically. That's one person making that conscious decision within their mind that this is the only way that I have, and if this don't work out, then I'd rather not exist, because I know going back to the joint and I know what that does to my mind. Can y'all speak on that?
Yeah, just just the thought of going back, right? Just even being in the cell, and I say this humbly, like I did 21 straight years, when at 16, and it affected me, but I came out, right? I walked out of that thing. So like I'm like, I take it, I say it humbly, but like I did that. You know what I'm saying? Like I pat myself on the back, and I big myself up every day because I was able to make it out. And like I said, I seen lesser or greater men not make it out. You know what I'm saying? And not come out with the full grasp of who they are, the full grasp of reality. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm thankful and I'm blessed every day that I was able to do that. Now, does that mean that I don't have my own idiosyncrasies? You know what I'm saying? And my own little things that happen because of prison? Hell yeah, I got them, man. You know what I'm saying? Like you were just talking about, how you get to dependent on yourself. You know what I'm saying? And I am that to a T. I don't ask nobody for nothing. You know what I'm saying? And But that comes from prison, and being in prison, like I never wanted to feel like a burden, so I would never ask nobody for anything. You know what I'm saying? Luckily, my mama took care of me. I love my mother to death. She was there the whole time. I never had to ask her for nothing. She just sent it. You know.
Mm-hmm.
But when you in there and you just relying on yourself, and then you come home, and then you can't really rely on yourself, especially in my situation, because I didn't know nothing, bro. I didn't know. I knew I wanted to get a job, but I didn't know how to do a resume. I don't even know how to use the computer. You know what I'm saying? So I went to Michigan Works and try to figure that out. But the amount of, I ain't gonna say anxiety, because I don't really like the word anxiety, but the amount of embarrassment that
Mm-hmm.
I faced, as I told the lady, like, hey, listen, can you help me? I don't really know what I'm doing, you know what I'm saying? And she dismissed me like, oh yeah, just pick a font and then just fill it in the blanks. I said, ma'am, listen, I don't even know what a font is. I don't know how to choose the font. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how to just choose a font and then fill it in. I don't know the first thing. And like, she was continuously not understanding it, you know what I'm saying? And which it made me, okay, want to withdraw. I don't even want to do this now, because now I'm getting embarrassed on top of you not understanding what I need you to understand, because I'm not understanding what's going on. So it just made the whole situation like extremely, extremely difficult for me, and make me not want to do that type of stuff, right? So like I had to figure out how to use my phone and like fill out applications on the phone and all that. And I'm more of like, even right now, like I don't write my raps in a phone.
Mm-hmm.
I write it down on a piece of paper with a pen. You know what I'm saying? So like, what happened to like applications where you can just write it out? You know what I'm saying? Like, why do I? And so all that type of stuff like only heightens the anxiety and the type of the type of pressure that you have on you when you come at home, because yeah, you just realize that your survival mode and all these, cutting people off and being independent, like helped you get through what you just went through, but then you don't realize, like, damn, okay, I'm not in that situation no more, and I do need help, and it's okay for these individuals to help me. A lot of people are here for that reason, just to help you, you know what I'm saying, and they
Yep.
get paid to help you, but you 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 can't adjust to it, you know what I'm saying, because like you said, you think everybody is against you. You feel like, like everybody that was somebody that I needed help with, you know what I'm saying, as far as like a CO was concerned, or a counselor, or I never felt like they had my best intentions at heart. You know what I'm saying? So like, if all these people that's supposed to be like the people that I look to for help, I don't feel like they have my best intentions at heart. You know what I'm saying? When I come home, that mentality is still there. So I'm going to a place, a business where they're supposed to be helping me, but I don't feel comfortable enough with asking them to help me, even though they're supposed to be helping me anyway. You see what I'm saying? Like it messes with you. It messes with you a lot. And then some guys will get discouraged in that situation, like I did in that situation. I got discouraged and I left. I said, okay, I'll find another way to do it. You know what I'm saying? Because me, I'm a resourceful guy. Like I don't give up. But so, okay, this didn't work. I tried a different way. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times we lose that when we come home. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, this don't work. I tried a different way. Oh no, if this don't work, then that's just it. You know what I'm saying? And that's how they fall into that mode. Well, shit. Oh, this was supposed to work and it didn't work. And now, okay, now I'm back to nothing. So now I got to, possibly commit another crime to, what I'm saying, get what I need, because this shit didn't work. You know what I'm saying? And guys get discouraged by that.
A lot of times, a lot of people are misinformed about a returning citizen as well, man. So if a person, sometimes you have to enter the gate with letting people know, just tell them. Sometimes you got to start out with your situation. I just came home after doing 21 years in prison. I'm trying to focus on getting a job, man. I know, sir, I know you may not understand because you may be misinformed about. They don't know how you did your time in prison. You know what I'm saying? For them to say, some people may think that, just because you've been in prison, you learn how to read, you learn how to write, you know how to conduct yourself in an interview. You never been on an interview. You know what I'm saying? The only interview you done been on is a parole hearing where you had to, sit there, listen to what they had to say, and then they had to ask you, did you have something that you wanted to say? And whatever you said was for to convince them that you wanted to get out. So that's the same interest in getting talking to people that may be misinformed about your incarceration. If you let them know that, then they can say, "Oh, you ain't been out here in 20 years. So yeah, let me walk you through this. I need a step by, and sometimes you got to be arrogant. You got to be straight. I need a step by step on this. Because if you don't say the step by step, that's when she's gonna say, well, just push that button right there and read the rest of it. It's gonna walk you through. But that ain't enough.
It's there, but we got to get used to stepping outside of ourselves and that mindset in order for us to get to that point to ask. Because I know with me, I was shut down every time I get into the child support office. And as soon as the lady get to talking, immediately in my mind, I'm like, she trying to disrespect me. You know what I'm saying? And everything is turns off. I don't hear nothing she says after that. And I end up just walking out and I don't end up getting nothing done. So I realized that happens with me. And to bring the conversation full circle, I wanted to ask y'all if it's already hard enough when you add all those layers in, just regular prison life. And we were talking about solitary confinement earlier. You know, I want to know, how did that isolation affect your mental health in the long term? And how do those tales of solitary still show up in your life today? Like, are y'all still feeling effects from being in solitary confinement?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, absolutely. Like I mean I don't know if anybody ever really had like a real sense of like helplessness. You know what I'm saying? Like I've been in all of them, bro. I've been in every level 5 it was in Michigan. You know what I'm saying? I've been in every last one of them and been in every last hole in level 5. And being up there so far away from your family in the UP in the Upper Peninsula, you know what I'm saying? It's a 13-hour drive. I was at Berger. That's 13 hours away from my mother. You feel me? And like when you that far away and it's that isolated and that desolate out there, you you see what they do. You see how these individuals that's supposed to be the good guys, you know what I'm saying, they treat you. And at any moment, you know what I'm saying, that they could possibly kill you and nobody would do nothing. Your family wouldn't know, you know what I'm saying? And it's really that serious. And so like the real sense of helplessness, like when I was in segregation, I was sitting there one day and I was just looking and I was just like, fuck, there ain't nothing, not one thing that I can do right now. You know what I'm saying? There's not nothing that I can do. So that thought right there, like it overwhelmed me in that time. You know what I'm saying? And I put my sheet up and you know what I'm saying, I sat there and I cried. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm helpless. You know what I'm saying? And having that feeling, bro, like that feeling of help, that shit never goes away. You know what I'm saying? Like I still hold on to that, even though I know I'm not helpless now. In that situation, I felt so helpless. And like anytime I have a situation come back up again where it's like, if there's a possibility to threaten my freedom, right? You know what I'm saying? Or anytime there's a possibility to threaten my freedom, bro, I can't take it. You know what I'm saying? I can't. It's like it's a whole bunch of pressure coming on. My chest start tightening up. I try to, you know what I'm saying, breathe it. And the only thing that I want to do is resort to violence. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm helpless. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, that's the only thing I know how to do. You know, so it still affects you to this day. So anytime like I have a threat of my freedom being taken away, it's not like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be on a prison yard. It's the thought of that fucking segregation cell. It's just the isolation, the being away from everybody, the not knowing if your people's all right and not knowing if you all right. You know what I'm saying? And that type of shit, bro, it'll never go away. It'll never go away.
I remember I got a nephew that's still in prison now, man, and hopefully he'll be on his way home soon. He did some time up in Berica as well as he just left from Alger at a level 2, but Alger is a level 5 prison, and even being in that level 2 prison, the level 2 part of that facility, they run it like it's a level 5, so I could just imagine how individuals, the closest I've been to solitary confinement. Thank God I ain't never been to the point where I went to a facility. But I remember when I was in the county jail, and I went in Oakland County Jail, and I went to the hole for throwing some food on a guard. You know what I'm saying? I throw some food, and when you do that, they take you to the part of the segregation part where it's a jail inside of a
Inside
jail.
of jail.
You know what I'm saying? So they walk me to that part that I'm walking up to the part. They take all your clothes. They give you this rubber. They give you like a pajama thing to put on, but it's like a whole mattress that I'm putting over my body because I'm laying on this steel. There was a slab at the time, so I didn't have no clothes on. I just had to put this thing over my head. So I got that on, and I couldn't eat normal food no more because I threw food. So they got the food loaf, which is all the food that they mix up for that day, which is some healthy stuff. My body got adjusted to eat it, but at first I didn't want to eat it because the smell of it, you know. So it messed with my mind mentally. For it took me a week to eat because I wasn't gonna eat that. You know what I'm saying? Thank God that I had some brother mans in there that would bring me some bread, or bring me an orange juice, or bring me an apple, or bring me something that's nourishing that I could eat. But the mental state of being confined like that, and I had to stay there for 3 months. That was only 90 days, which seemed like forever. You know what I'm saying? So that kind of made my mental kind of different of how I conducted myself with other individuals as well as the police. You know what I'm saying? I learned right then and there that sometimes when you in solitary and you can build a certain kind of relationship with the police because that's what they really want you to. They really want you to bow down. That's what they really want. They really want you to bow down. So if you can meet them where they at, yes sir, no sir, may I have this, may I have that, because that's what they want. So you got to play into what they want. And a lot of times we're going to the hole, people don't play into what the correction officer want. They do more rebellious stuff than they would do things to kind of connect with that individual. And like the brother also said, man, but when you go way far up the peninsula, the further up the peninsula you get, they can give a damn about a nigga. I'm just gonna say it like that. Or they can give a damn about somebody that's in prison, or inmate. Cause
Yeah.
that's what you are. You're not. They're not your friend. They not did this. That. You're a convicted felon. Whatever you did, no matter how minor it might have been to get you in prison, and you might be in a hole just for, like the brother Blake said, for just defending yourself over something else. But they gonna treat you like you in a hole because you did this or you did that, and the mental state behind that can build up a part of your brain that you jump to the defense on every issue when it comes down to dealing with those two different individuals.
Yes, sir. Yes,
You
sir.
can't. You can't. So I just want to touch on the relationship
No,
with the
I'm
police and how you become isolated, right? Because these are the only individuals these are your legs, these are your hands, these are, you know what I'm saying. The police, when you're in segregation, the CO is, you need them for everything. In order for them to do anything, for you to have anything, they need to do it for you. You know what I'm saying? They need to pick up your mail, they need to pass out your mail, they need to pass you your food, they need to take you to the shower. If you need something to write a letter or anything like that, they have to do it for you. You know what I'm saying? So the moment you start doing things that they don't like and they don't want to get to that shit, you know what I'm saying? You can't supposed to help you, right? You know what I'm saying? That we was talking about earlier. You go out in the streets and you go places, and these people are paid to help you. They are paid to help us. They are paid to, you know what I'm saying? That's their job, to do the shit that we can't get right now. And they don't want to do that. So when they don't want to do that, then it becomes, that's when you start relying on yourself again. You know what I'm saying? That's when you start, okay, I don't gotta ask him. You start finding other ways to do it. You know what I'm saying? And try to manipulate the system. And that's what the isolation does. It drives you to, you know what I'm saying, to think of other ways to get around shit. You know what I'm saying? And one thing I want to touch on was the food loaf. Thankfully now the food loaf is ruled unconstitutional. They cannot serve that in no facility in the United States. That shit is foul. You know what I'm saying? And one of my situations was I was in segregation. I'm in the hole, and they got a rule that says if there's something wrong with your tray, before we leave your door, you have to tell us what's wrong with it. So the officer pulls up. He's got the the food on the carts, and he pulls up and he's got the box of oranges, and he's got about 4 or 5 oranges on the cart outside of the box. He pulls up to my thing, and I see instead of grabbing the orange out of the box, he grabs the orange off the side. So okay, whatever. I don't really think about it. I grab the orange when he hands it through the slot. I look at it. As soon as I look at it, I put it up in the window. It's rotted. It's black. You know what I'm saying? There's a bunch of mold on it. I immediately show it to him, and I say, "Hey man, my orange is rotten." He said, "You ain't got shit coming." Boom, slam my slot and close my shutter to my window. What do? I immediately turn around and start mule kicking the door. My slot happened to pop open. I said, "Hey man, give me another orange. Put your arm back in the slot. I'm not giving you nothing. You ain't got nothing coming." I said, "My orange is messed up, man. Just give me another orange." He don't want to give me another orange. Okay, so I continue to act out. I throw my food at him. I throw my tray at him. You know what I'm saying? They come in there. They rush me. I'm 17 at this time. They rush me. Use the big shield. They pepper spray me. Use the riot squad gear. You know what I'm saying? And put me on food loaf. And they chain me. And they handcuff and shackle me to a metal slab for 3 days, bro. 3 days. I couldn't use the bathroom. If I had to use the bathroom, they had to come in there with 2 officers to escort me to the toilet that's 3 feet from my bunk and record me. They're recording me with a camera while 2 officers secure me while I'm using the bathroom, while I'm either urinating or I'm taking the number 2, right? So it's like while I'm on food loaf. You see what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. Like this there's no way that type of stuff, when you go through that type of stuff, it doesn't have a lasting effect on you over years and years, even after your incarceration. Like, I still remember the bed sores and how my elbow felt and my wrist felt from after they took the shackles and the handcuffs off me after 3 days. But I still remember, I still feel them bitches on my arms right now.
Damn.
Yeah, I ain't gonna never forget that, bro. I would never forget that. So does it have a lasting effect on you? Absolutely. Like, I would never forget the shit that I seen. Like you said, you seen Michael Jackson and stuff all in the walls when you was looking at these bricks and all these formulating stuff. Yes, bro. I've been in rooms. I would never forget these rooms, bro. I would never forget them. You know what I'm saying? Never.
Yes, sir. That's all we got for this segment, guys. We had our time limit. But go ahead, Blake. You want to close us out for this segment?
No, I just want to. I want to. Okay, so I'm gonna compliment on definitely what also definitely spoke on. Yeah, because it could come out of nowhere that you have these type of flashbacks, and you will have when I have these flashbacks of being incarcerated, or being in the hole, specifically in those type of situations, I automatically clam up. But I also have to come to the realization that I'm no longer in those situations. So it's always going to be a constant battle for a person who dealt with the things we dealt with consistently. But I believe that we one of the main men that are making that change happen, and actually battling with that and consistently making those right choices right now with our lives.
That's what's up, man. I appreciate y'all, man. We're going to hit a quick word from our sponsor, and we'll be right back. Quick shout out to today's sponsor, Printer Source Plus in Jackson, Michigan, proudly serving our area since 2006. Printer Source Plus delivers tailored printing solutions from desktop printers and scanners to wide format copiers and shredders from top brands like Epson, Brothers, Samsung, and Kyocera. Over 19 years, they've been your go-to for top quality and affordability. You need to check them out. Why choose them? Their private label ink and toner reduces your cost by up to 50% compared to OEM, backed by 100% lifetime guarantee.
Because what are we talking about?
Welcome. We are back. Man, we got a couple of people they won't be able to make it today for this segment, but me and Dion is back, man. What's going on, brother?
Nothing much, man. Just making my day. I was reading some of the comments, man. The individuals that was commenting on this, and the brother Timothy Milton, man, he said he just been out for 5 years. He just been home for 5 years, but like I said, that's the turning point. If you've been out for 5 years, you kind of got yourself established, or you should have yourself established, or you know exactly where you at in your life after coming home from prison. after 5 years.
Yeah. 5 years is that baseline where you start to stabilize yourself. Um, some of the anxiety starts to ease up a little bit. I mean, like we heard earlier, a lot of things stick with you forever. You don't never forget memories, some of the trauma, some of the habits, maybe even. But once you get to that 5 year part, that 5 year mark, the stats on going back to the joint, like they drastically decrease when you hit that 5 year mark. And that's
Okay.
because you have time to build roots in the community and you get better reasons of why you need to stay, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Drew says you can't live in trauma, otherwise they win. The only way to prove them wrong is to show them that you were better than that. Prove it yourself. The trauma turns into fuel. Yes, yes, that is true. But sometimes, like the trauma, people can't escape the trauma because it was so severe during their times in incarceration. You know, there's so much that can happen to a person while you're inside, right? And everybody's walk through prison is different. Everybody don't experience the same thing. Um, so for some people, they can go through different traumatic experiences that end up scarring them, for life. And especially when we're talking about dealing with long periods of time inside solitary confinement. Um, like I met a young man who did 12 years straight in solitary. Another guy, 17 years straight in solitary confinement. Another one, 24 years inside of solitary confinement, and that's like consecutive years. So when you do a lot of time like that inside of the environment like that, small little cell, you only get about 6 steps back and forth in one direction. They can withhold your water, withhold your food. You get no communication with the outside world. That does a lot on your mental health, especially. And then besides that, even if you never experienced going into solitary confinement, just spending a lot of time in prison, you get conditioned to the the survival tactics. You learn this mindset of survival, right? That it's hard to shake when you get out in the streets. And that's what everybody says. Like, it's hard to shake um, just the attitude, the holding things inside, not showing my feelings, no emotions, because those things were weak in prison. If you showed emotions, if you, openly expressed your feelings, that was seen as a sign of a weakness, and it was something that we would use to take advantage of you. So if you spend a lot of time in prison, you get conditioned to not speaking out, not telling anybody your feelings, your thoughts, your fears, none of that. So you keep it inside. And we see that's something that a lot of men do, which leads us down the road to mental health problems, right? Because we have that fear. And
Hold on, we going in and
want to
out.
have to get help.
Yes,
You
sir.
said I'm going in and out?
Yeah, you was for a minute.
Okay.
It's
Hopefully
better.
we back right.
Yeah, you better. To the brother Islam, more Islam, bro. Islam. So yeah, man, I know that one thing about individuals that may have never been to prison, that may have known somebody that's in prison, a relative or some of that nature, a friend, a family member, you know, uh, COVID really showed a lot of people what solidarity is. You know what I'm saying? Because when COVID hit, and we gotta still know that we still living in that pandemic. We still living in the COVID era. It's still a pandemic going on today.
Hmm.
But the fearness of it at the time that it happened. People was dying, rapidly dying. People getting rapidly getting sick. And they had people, the social distancing, 6 feet away from each other. In prison, you can't social distance. Either you can't, ain't no way you can stay 6 feet away from somebody going to the child hall, or you got to stay 6 feet away from somebody moving around. So, when that COVID hit, a lot of people that never been to prison experience some trauma, with being locked in the house because people didn't want to come outside. People was told that being outside can be detrimental to your life. You can lose your life if you caught COVID. So that's a form of just saying that if you haven't experienced that isolation, COVID showed us that. And just
Yeah.
it was times 12 in prison. You know what I'm saying? Because they had to control, they in a controlled environment, and in a controlled environment where they don't just have cells, they got dorms where people 6 men in a dorm, in a setting. So it was hard for people to get through that, and a lot of people passed form in prison through that COVID era in prison.
And I was out during the COVID era, and I saw how the state of our mental health changed when during COVID, like in the community. A lot of people couldn't handle that isolation. And in fact, I ended a conversation at the Solitary Justice Project. I ended my speech by telling people to go inside your closet at home, right? Or your bathroom. Try your bathroom, because that'll be what's most like similar to a solitary confinement cell. Go in your bathroom, shut the blinds, make it dark, and close the door. But don't bring your phone with you, no type of entertainment, no book, no nothing. And just sit in your bathroom for about an hour or two, or see how long you could sit in there without no type of entertainment. You won't really have no mirror, no nothing, no window to look out at, just four walls. And see how long you comfortable in that type of situation, right? Before you be really ready to jump out, you know, or your body ready to just run up out of that room. It's because people naturally ain't made to be isolated and to be alone for long periods of time.
That's just like if you put if they got dog kennels out here, man. If you put a dog in a kennel and just keep him in that particular space that he can only go so far, you know what I'm saying? If it has effect on an animal to the point to where that dog is trying to get out of there, the dog's mental is going, sideways as well. So just imagine how much damage it's doing to a human. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
You start having thoughts of all kind of things start popping up in your head, man. You don't know, you don't know if you want to live today. You don't know if you want. It's a lot of stuff that go on in your head, man, because when you confined to an area where you got limited space to move, it can be traumatizing to your mental.
Yeah, I still have nightmares and flashbacks. That's what Tim said. I do too, brother. I do too. I used to have, I don't know if y'all did, but I remember when I was free, when I was when I was incarcerated, I would have nightmares that I was free. Did you used to have them dreams that you was free?
Man.
And then you wake up and you lock back up and then be like, that was worst nightmares that I ever had. Like,
And you know what, bro? Some of the things that kept me from having those kind of nightmares, and I'm just gonna put this on here. Thank God we out and we helping individuals when they get out. Go through some of them barriers, man. A lot of people cut their family off when they go to prison because they don't want to be a burden. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times you talk to people on the phone, man, and they may be going through something, but they don't want to upset the grandmama. They don't want to upset the mama. They don't want to upset the auntie. So everything is good, grandma. Everything is perfect. But in the meantime, you ain't got enough food to eat. Your hygiene you ain't got enough hygiene supplies. They put you in a cell with somebody that you really can't get along with. And those kind of things that you put out to individuals that's out, they basically gonna say, just keep your head up, man, stay strong. But you're not here with me going through this madness. You know what I'm
going
saying?
through this.
That's why a lot of people that go to prison don't communicate with their loved ones like they should and really be honest about what's going on with them in prison. And you could bring that home with you. You know what I'm saying? After doing that much time and come home, you isolate yourself away and you don't really let your family members know exactly what you need or how you feeling or what's going on with your mental state of mind, because it can trigger something, and you can go, be right back in prison.
Man, that's a fact. Hey, Drew said he remembers his first night at Big Sandy USP. All I heard was knives being sharpened all night. Man, the
And
first time I heard that, I'm like, what the hell is that? And then you realize what it is. You just like you feel so naked.
absolutely, man. And to have, I've been getting reports from individuals that I didn't know that, because when I was in prison, thank God I never had a bunkie. You know what I'm saying? I
Mhm.
stayed in Jackson. I had my own cell. I had a
Man,
neighbor, but I had my own cell. But I noticed in other facilities, they give you a neighbor, man, and your neighbor may not be as clean as you. Because if you've been
man,
in a cell for 6, 7 years and your hygiene is up, you know what I'm saying? You taking care of your cell, the floor is clean, the bars is clean, the mirror is clean, especially the toilet. The toilet is clean because you're sleeping right next to that. You know what I'm saying? And here it is, they didn't put somebody in here with you that may not have those kind of traits of being clean. So now you got to explain to this individual, and you in prison, you got to explain to this individual how you want your space to be, and that causes conflict. I didn't came across numerous of brothers that caught cases from trying to chastise they bunkie. You know what I'm saying, to make them do the right thing.
definitely. People don't understand that within the prison culture is there's a lot of rules and regulations, and hygiene is a big thing for people while they're incarcerated because of the close proximity and shared resources, the shared toilet, the shared communal spaces. So that was a big thing, man. You'll see people get beat down for not cleaning the shower properly or doing things in the shower that they shouldn't be doing. That was heavily seen in prison. But definitely, Tim says, I have been diagnosed with PTSD. Yes, we speak about that a little bit. They got a new term for it now. Psychologists call it Post-Incarceration Syndrome, PICS.
Mm-hmm.
And Post-Incarceration Syndrome basically is like PTSD, but specifically tailored for people that have been incarcerated, because it's those nightmares, those flashbacks, all of those things that are associated with you being incarcerated. Psychologists are now starting to understand this now, and they're starting to find better ways to treat this. Um, but it starts with us having these type of conversations like what we having now, because people don't even realize this when they talk about someone returning from prison or jail, right? We just think, oh, our family member's home, let's time to turn up, let's have a party, we missed them so much, and then we on them about getting back out here and getting a job and things like that. But we don't never really take the time to have a real check-in with them. Like we spoke about last episode, that we need to have like briefings when we come home. Our families need, and our friends, right? They need to bring us home into an environment where we can communicate with them and they can communicate with us, right? We need to be able to be open about the things that we experience within the prison. And we have to feel like, for one, that it's trusted enough for us to open up, because a lot of men coming from home from prison, we have this PTSD. We have all of these traits and things that we use to survive, all of that holding emotions in, using anger to resolve everything, violence to solve all problems. All of those things that helped us survive prison, they're not going to help us survive the real world, and they're not going to help us stay free. So we need family members to be aware of these things. We need people and friends to be aware of these things. We don't necessarily need that welcome home party with all of our friends and everybody around. We might not need that our first day home. We might need some more structure and love and different type of support. But it takes for us to have these conversations, and men and women that are coming home to actually speak out, speak up, tell their truths, and then through making the public aware, we can change some laws, because we see policies are being changed right now. Laws are being drafted, bills are being introduced, and it's time, but we have to bring our problems to the table. We got to open up on it.
Hey, quick, man, I got a number. If you can allow me to put, I got a
Mhm.
number that I can put in the chat, man. If anybody want to call in and speak about their experience, I want to comment on one of the topics that we talking about.
We're going to add it on the screen now.
Okay, the number is it's 313
Mm-hmm.
420 8257. And that's
Yeah.
just a number. If anybody want to call in, man, and have a question or want to express. I know a lot of times when we on this live or on this kind of platform, people like to type stuff in, but it's nothing like hearing it coming from that person's vocal and speaking on some of the things that we're talking about. And as being a returning citizen, man, and the returning neighbors. This is widespread. This is not just here. We're in Michigan, where I'm located at. We going across the country with this here, man, to help individuals get make a good transition back into society.
Mm-hmm.
A
Yeah,
lot
so
of
if you want to call into the show, man, just dial a number right here. It's on the screen at the bottom, and we can get you on here. I think we're supposed to have a brother calling from inside the joint
shortly, yes, yes.
shortly.
So,
Hopefully, everything is good and he can still come in and tap in with us today.
So just like what we was talking about, bro, this returning neighbors is. I'm glad you came up with the concept, man. There's other organizations already out here doing some of the work. But the more people that's doing the work, the better. You know what I'm saying? The more people that's doing the work, the better. The more people that's getting involved with our returning citizens is better because at one point in time, man, a returning citizen couldn't talk to another felon. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You couldn't even be in a proximity of another felon. You know what I'm saying? Or somebody that's been in prison. I'm glad they changed that kind of aspect of that we need to help one another out, and that's what we do.
yeah, ain't that crazy? And I remember when it first started to change, and I started to get calls from parole officers. I had my old parole officer, Denise Wellhughes, and she called me one day and she was like, "Hey, I got a guy that just came home from the joint, man. I want to know if you could talk to him for me." And I was like, "What?" Because I wasn't aware that the rule had changed. So I'm like, "Dang, she want me to talk to another." You know what I'm saying? I'm like, "Then he just came home from the joint."
And,
Like,
and
you
I
want him
never
to talk to
understood.
me?
I never understood why they even implemented something like that because, you know, every family has somebody that's been to prison. If I just got out of prison, I know 5 people in my family right now that I couldn't be around back then that I can be around now. And,
Wasn't that
and,
crazy?
the, and the whole conversation with talking to them was, man, look, I'm gonna show you how to get a job. They weren't trying to show me no illegal activity to stay out, to be out or to
Yeah,
go back. That everything was positive. You know,
exactly. Because nobody knows better than the person that experienced the trauma of being locked in that cell, what it feels like, and the severity of the situation why you can't go back, man. We was talking about that earlier. Also was talking about when you got that mindset, like you just know you're not going back, man, no matter what. And that's why we see guys hold court in the street sometimes because they get stuck in that and they know like no matter what, they not going back to the joint. So it's either this or nothing at all. And that's the sad reality for a lot of brothers and sisters, man. And we gotta do more to change that, man.
yes, sir. I totally agree. I totally agree. I know that and then even so coming home, man, like we just like we got another brother that's Blake Lindsay that's just had just got an emergency come up, and you got to deal with that stuff coming home, man. You got to things gonna come up. Things may not go the way you want them to go at that present time, but you still got to hold fast to what your focus was or what your focus is, and that's the main remedy for staying out. You can't
Mhm.
you can't get discouraged. You can't let nobody discourage you from doing what you supposed to be doing or what you want to do. And a lot of times you get people out here, man, that just do that to discourage you from actually completing or accomplishing what you want to do because of how long you've been locked up, your thoughts and your ideas about how you want to go about, doing what you want to do. You get people that be like, man, I've been out here for this a long amount of time and I can't even do that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because you didn't put the work in that you need to put the work in and stay focused to do that. So that's just another suggestion that I put out there, man. Stay focused, man, and don't let nobody deter you from your thoughts, man, about what you doing out here to stay out here. A lot of times we get some, it may be some of our own family members, or we get involved with a certain individual, and your reentry ain't quick enough for them. You know what I'm saying? When you gonna get up and get a job? When you gonna do this? When you gonna do that? When you gonna when you go? You know what I'm saying? That right there can be enough to trigger you to say, you know what? I'm about to go out here and get some money today. You know what I'm saying? And you might get away with it and you may not get away with it. But at the end of the day, you've been triggered by someone constantly, I don't want to call it a nag, but someone constantly trying to push you over the bridge. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah, that definitely don't help nothing. My guy said, yeah, just because we can do time don't mean we need to do time.
absolutely,
That's
absolutely,
why I don't say free my guys that's in the joint. I just tell my guys to stay free. You know what I'm saying? Because it's much easier for me to tell my guys that are already outside that come home to stay free, to keep encouraging them to be free, than it is for me to say free my guys that's in the cell. You know what I'm saying?
yes,
Be-
no doubt, no doubt.
There's no freedom when you're in the cell. We know that.
It's just that you got to get out here, man, and when they say productive, you just got to find productive ways to stay out, man. And I know, believe me, I firsthand know that it is not easy. It's not easy. Don't and nothing worth having is easy.
Yeah.
Nothing worth having for accomplishment gonna come easy. I learned that. My old dude told me that. Ain't everything in life ain't gonna be peachy cream for you. You're gonna have to get some scars. You're gonna have to go. You're gonna trip a couple of times. But you just gotta know once you trip and fall, just get back up, man. Don't turn back around and try to correct what you did, what you couldn't correct in the first place. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But what was your main driving force for that change? What was it? For me, it was relationships, my children and things like that. But what was it for you, that main driving force that forced you to stay on the right track?
I didn't have to. I didn't have to do crime to make the money that I was making.
Woo!
When I got my career started and started making money, I didn't have to go. I could easily resort back to making the money that I was making illegally, but the money I was making legitimately was let me live the same lifestyle. Because at the end of the day, it's about your lifestyle, bro. People want to live a certain kind of lifestyle. You want to live a certain kind of lifestyle. I'm quite sure everybody on this platform right now got a certain kind of lifestyle that they live. And
Yeah.
in order to live that lifestyle, some of it's gonna come with it come with a cost. If you want to travel, you gotta have passports. You gotta have the money to get there. You gotta have money to rent a car. You gotta have money to get the hotel. You gotta have money to go shopping. So that's a lifestyle. Some people's lifestyle is not so extravagant as other people's lifestyle. Now I live right now. I got a family. I got children that I done raised. I live a modern lifestyle. I'm up in age now. I got wisdom to carry on the legacy of my life to my children and be with my wife. You know what I'm saying? So that a lot of things, raising a family and building a structured foundation for myself and giving my children a sense of generational wealth. See that's what I'm starting the youth right now. That's what I'm starting my children. We got to keep this thing going, and I ain't got to sell dope to keep it going. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got to be out here robbing nobody to keep it going, just to live the lifestyle that I live. So my turning point was, getting a career, focusing on my career, and I still live the same lifestyle. I skipped when I first came home. Naturally, I wasn't living that lifestyle. I had to be humbled and get myself together. But once I put myself together, man, and stop listening to other people try to dictate to me what I need to do. A lot of times people try to tell you what to do, and they're not even doing what they're trying to tell you what to do. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So, sometimes you just got to cut off people, man, and and still respect them, and still, be cordial with them, but bro, what you doing, I'm not into. You know, and I used to be into a lot of stuff. I'm quite sure if you've been in prison for something, if you've been in the street, you done did a lot of things that you would that you didn't change your whole life around that you don't even want to be around.
Let's see if I can get the brother Melton on the call.
Oh, he said he tried to call. I didn't see no missed call.
Yeah, let's see if we can get him on. I'll try to get him on now.
I want to make sure I got the right number. 313-420-8257. Oh, he coming on. Okay. We're gonna bring him on. Okay.
Okay.
What's going on, brother?
We got you live on the screen, Tim.
All right. Well, I can't see the screen. I see you, but not the screen.
You see me, but not the screen. But you on the podcast, brother.
All right. Thank you.
You on? We on?
So that's the brother that spent.
Yeah. So I wanted to speak a little bit about incarceration and the difference between the state and the feds. In my opinion, the federal system is way worse because they transport you all over different parts of the United States. The federal system is more racially segregated. And for a guy like me, that grew up in Detroit, in Jackson, and have more predominantly black and Hispanic friends than I do white friends, going to the Fed system was to me a culture shock as a Caucasian person.
Yeah, I do know. I haven't been to the feds, but
and then typically in the federal system, for instance, I had a cellie. He got stabbed to death at USP Lee, and I had no part in it. And I was in solitary confinement under investigation for 3 years until they finally cleared me.
Man. I don't know if he can hear you or not, Brother Dion, but what was your question? Maybe I can say it to him.
no, I was just asking that, I never been to the feds, but I do know it's like feds is like California. They put people in, they put people with their own, not their own kind, but
Their own race.
their own races. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Michigan, it don't. Michigan penitentiaries ain't really like that as much.
I'm talking about the feds. In the feds,
Yeah, and the feds it is though. Definitely still that way in the feds, and the culture shock of it, the shock of it, all of the rules and the regulations that's unspoken. That's shocking when you first get into. But what else you got, Tim, on your experiences on being outside? What about when you came home, man? What was life like when you first got home?
Well, I'm gonna get kind of personal here. I did 18 plus in the feds, and of course, my ex-wife left me. When I got incarcerated in 1995, when they raided my house, the ATF, FBI, and the U.S. Marshals raided my house. They denied me bond, and I was held at Wayne County Jail, the old Wayne County Jail in Detroit, uh, until all the legal proceedings were over. And then they ended up transferring me to FCI Milan in Michigan, not at the low, but to the detention center. And basically, what I'm saying, Justin, and anybody else that's listening, I lost everything when I went to the feds. My wife left me, divorced me. As I said, my kids were babies when I left. They had already started calling somebody else dad, so I had to get used to that. My parents both died. You know, I couldn't go to no funerals. And as I say, in the federal system, they transfer you all over the United States to different prisons. They only allow you to be at one particular prison in the feds for approximately 4 years because they don't want you to get overly familiar with the staff. And so then you got to go to the Oklahoma City Transfer Center. You got to ride on Conair. You know, for instance, you know, I was locked up with a lot of people, man, at different spots like John Gotti, Sonny Francese of the Colombo crime family. But yeah, so anyway, when I got home, they released me to a halfway house on Livernois and Pinko in Detroit. And because I was a stand-up guy and I met a lot of good people in prison, you know, when I got out, all I had was guys that I had been locked up with that had become successful. And, you know, they looked out for me, gave me money, bought me clothes. Yeah, so, you know, I didn't have nothing. I came home to nothing. And it took me, I want to say, about 2 years of struggling to get to where I am at today. You know, I have a relationship now with all my kids, my ex-wife, you know, my brothers, and yeah, but it was a shock to even come home. For instance, I suffer from, you know, antisocial personality disorder. I don't like being around a big group of people. It's just hard. And as you know, Justin, with the recent fire at Reed Manor, that kind of made me go back to when I was in the halfway house in Detroit after I got released from the federal system. I didn't have nothing. I had to start over again. So again, that brought back nightmares and memories, you know?
Yeah. That trauma that lasts forever because it takes you back to those feelings and that fear that you had at that time. Is there any other things from prison that you still struggle with? Like,
yeah, I struggle with even now. I have to learn to. I have to retrain my thinking about being around a large group of people or social gatherings, because I have to learn basically that everybody ain't out to get you. Everybody ain't out to hurt you. But oftentimes, you know, I still carry sometimes, unless I'm in church, but you know, I carry a weapon, you know, and it's I guess when I was in prison, it just you had to always be prepared. And I have to learn that everybody in society, unlike prison, ain't out to hustle you or hurt you or, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it took a while, man. I appreciate that for sharing. Brother Dion, do you got any questions for him?
Yeah, I got a couple of questions for you, bro. I wanted to know, you said now, right? If I'm correct on the comment.
Can you hear it, Tim?
No,
He said, you've been home for 5 years. Is that correct?
a little longer than that.
Okay. So
I want to say 7 years.
okay, my question is to him is, with going to prison and losing everything, and then coming back out of prison and have to establish his whole life over again. How has he mentally uh, navigated through keeping himself together and functioning out here?
He said, with you having to come home basically without nothing, how were you able to mentally function and navigate out in the streets in that situation?
Well, as I stated previously, I didn't have nothing, nobody. Um, Actually, when I got released, I think I had in my inmate account, I had about 820 or $40. Didn't know anything about cell phones. Um, Technology was a brand new thing for me. I basically rode uh, the Detroit bus to, uh, I think it was a Walmart or a Myers, and used my money to buy some clothes, socks, underwear, T-shirts. Um, and then approximately a week later, I got a cell phone that I got at Metro PCS on Wyoming and Wyoming and Pinko in Detroit, and I got in contact with a few guys that I had been locked up with at FCI Milan, and one of them just so happened to own a restaurant or several restaurants, an Italian guy that I knew, and he gave me a job
Mm.
and paid me pretty well. And I eventually saved my money up and bought me a vehicle and started coming from Detroit to Jackson every week um, to see my kids, ex-wife, and it was a struggle probably for the first, I want to say, year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah, yeah, that's how it is for a lot of us sometimes when we come home from the joint, man. And just like Trey says, we do it to ourselves in a lot of ways, and nobody really owes us nothing. You know,
That's right.
it's up to
That's right.
people if they want to help. And what I found, what makes it easier for you to get help is people help people that help themselves. You know,
That's right.
when people see that you on a mission to change and that you making efforts out here to change, they'll do more and they'll be willing to do more to help.
I absolutely agree with you on that.
Um, but yeah, I just wanted to tap in and, on a more personal note, Justin, I'll get a hold of you, but I want you to know I love my new apartment.
Yes, sir.
Um, I'm at Ashton Ridge now.
Nice, nice. That's what's up, brother. Well, thank you for joining us, man. We'll holler at you another time, man. Tap in with us anytime, man.
All right. God bless y'all.
Yes, sir. God bless you too, brother. Peace.
All right. Peace.
That's good, man. He doing well, man. And that's good. We got people out here that's coming home that's functional. You know what I'm saying? And I agree with the sister Trey as well. If she is sister, but the Trey Majors is correct, man.
That's a brother.
Don't nobody owe us nothing, man. You know, and some of us, to be honest with being real, we owe a lot back to the people, to society. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Even though they say we paid our debt into society, but man, I done harmed a lot of people out in society. You know what I'm saying? I done did a great harm to humanity from the things that I was doing out in the street before I went to prison. You know what I'm saying? So I owe that. I owe that to correct the wrong that I put into society. You know, to make the work the community a better place. You know what I'm
Facts.
saying? They don't owe me nothing. I actually owe them. I'm they humble servant at this point. You know, what can I do to help you?
Facts. That's how I felt too, man. When I came home, you know, you feel this overwhelming urge, this overwhelming need to, you know, do good because you've done so much wrong. You know, when you've done a lot of wrong and you know that you've gotten another chance, you know, you've been forgiven, it develops this urge and this need within yourself to want to do better and to want to see other people do better. So that's why so many of us come home and we start to do things like what we do now. You know, it's because we accept it, right? We accept that, and then we make that decision within ourselves to be accountable, and then we say, to take it even further, I'm going to be accountable to my community by doing the right thing and being the right example for others to see.
Yeah. And for ones that are going back into the communities, you know, trying to help out people in the community and get things right, man, you got to be careful how you approach people, man, because sometimes you know you come in arms wide open to embrace the help. You know, they may not see that. They might see something different. So, you know, sometimes you got to be careful how you approach people. I had to learn that the hard way because just to give a little example, man, I was, you know, riding up and down the blocks and I had this event going on, Stop the Violence, and we was going to do a peace march. And it was a couple of young guys from the ages, I could say from the age from 16 to 11. They was outside playing basketball, you know. And I wind up pulling up on them. They didn't know who I was, you know what I'm saying? But I noticed they was youth, you know. So when I pulled up on them, you know, and asked them how they was doing, only the youngest one said something, but then the oldest one kind of grabbed the youngest one. Is like, man, don't talk to him. You don't know who he is. You don't know
Yeah,
nothing about him. You know what I'm saying? Even though I was coming peacefully, they still didn't want to hear what I had to say because I was a stranger to them. I was somebody that they couldn't relate to. And then a couple of weeks later, you know, I went back over there driving a different car. I had my gold chain on. I had my jewelry on. I went over there like that, and guess what? They was all in. They was all in then, so it was just a mind trick. They didn't know I was the same person because it was still the same people out there, but they didn't recognize me the first time when I walked up to them in a plain sight. But when I got flashy on them, then there was a
yeah,
different situation, you know. So sometimes you just got to be careful how you approach our youth or anybody in that matter of trying to help them out. Because after
that's
I pushed them like that, I wound up getting them. I gave them a car, gave each of them $5. You know what I'm saying? They was happy then. You know what I'm saying? They was like, okay, we'll listen to you now. You know what I'm saying? Y'all, I got something going on at the rec center. Next week, y'all come out and join us. And guess what? They came and joined after that. You know what I'm saying? But you just have a strategy of how you know, approaching people.
That's a fact, man. That's a fact, man. Trey, that's my guy, man. Trey said he been held accountable for every year he did inside. Spiritually, God held me accountable, then I held myself accountable and called home and told my mom I deserved to be in there. She hung up the phone because she couldn't believe I was holding myself accountable. And that's something that some of us we come to that realization. And for me, it was the same way. I remember I called home to my dad. My dad raised me from Jersey, and my dad was a firefighter, so he was a no nonsense type of dude. You know what I mean? And I remember he answered the phone, and he was like, "What up, man? You good?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm good." And he was like, "You like it in there?" And I'm was like perplexed, like, what you mean? Do I like it in there? I'm like, heck no, it's dirty, it's nasty, there's all dudes in here, stank, you know. Heck no, I don't like it in here. And he was like, good, so you won't go back. And I was just stuck, like. And then he said, because if you do go back, then I'm gonna assume that it was something that you liked in there. And then he hung up, and I never talked to my dad again. He never answered the phone call. So at that moment, that taught me a strong lesson, man to man, because I was father to son. That was a father teaching me a strong lesson in accountability, because he was saying, what his message was, I'm not going to support you inside while you're doing that. You know what I'm saying? Don't expect me to answer no phone calls. Don't expect for me to come visit. Don't expect me to write no letters, because I didn't cause for you to be there. You know what I'm saying? I had nothing to do with you being there. You made that decision on your own. So those are the consequences you deal with. So that's what started me into my process of accepting that accountability, right? Because so many times we come with that victim mindset, right? That, oh man, I got snitched on, man. I would have never been here if it wasn't for this dude. And we don't accept that accountability, saying that we deserve to be here, we need to be here, and there was a reason for us to be here. So in that moment there, on that phone call, that's when I began to accept that. And I remember it was shortly after that I went back into my cell in quarantine, and I finally started to accept and find knowledge of self. You know what I'm saying? That knowledge of self is like when you take that deep dive into yourself, to the innermost parts of yourself, and you start to find like your flaws, your weaknesses, your strengths, you know, the things that you need to work on, the things that you need to correct about yourself. I had found that in that cell in that moment, but it took for me to put the mirror on myself and focus on me to get to that realization and to that point.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know my old dude used to tell me, and sometimes it's the things that you tell your children too, man, that can deter them from doing something wrong. You know what I'm saying? My father used to tell me, man, it used to be this show called Beretta. I don't know if you're familiar with Beretta, but Beretta was a police officer in New York City, right? And when Beretta first came on, it's a song that the intro came on. It say, don't do the crime if you can't do the time. You know what I'm saying? So it was like you could do stuff wrong, but just know the consequences behind what you're doing. So even though I was a juvenile delinquent, and my father used to tell me, don't be out here doing the crime if you can't do the time. That kept me away from doing stuff that I know that I ain't about to kill nobody, because I ain't about to be going to jail for no murder or nothing. All right. But after a while, going to prison, it don't matter what crime you commit, the time that you're going to put you in an environment amongst other individuals that may have killed somebody. It's going to put you in an environment of thieves. It's going to put you in an environment to where the chaos is going to be real. You know what I'm saying? So I don't encourage the youth to don't get off into nothing that you can't handle. You know what I'm saying? Don't get off into it at all. Just how about that? How about finding another avenue to not even do that? You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, there's people out here, I'm making the same kind of money, legitly, living a good life now without worrying about who gonna kick in my back door, who gonna pull me over to take me to jail or violate me for some reason or whatever. I don't have to worry about. I live free now. You know what I'm saying? I got the free people, because free people do actually help free people. You as a free individual actually helping me stay free. You know what I'm saying? Not by saying don't do the crime if you can't do the time. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us ain't built to do no time. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of us is built to do some time. Why do the time if you ain't got to do it?
Exactly. And I like this comment Trey said, man. It actually reminds me of Japanese culture. He says, we got to get back to not wanting to disappoint our parents. That's actually Chinese culture. In China, there's relatively no crime in China and Japan. And a lot of times they don't lock doors, especially in Japan. There's no doors, like locked doors and homes and things like that. People leave their cars unlocked. And that's because the crime rate is so low there. And it's because in their society, if you do something to dishonor your family, you dishonor your whole family's legacy, like your whole lineage. So I tell my sons in that same way, like your last name is powerful, right? People in the community will know of you from your last name. So therefore, don't do anything to destroy the honor of your family name. Your family name is sacred, right? Your family name means something. And we have to get right to training our kids that, to give them that understanding, that realization that we do have honor, integrity, and dignity within our family structures, right? He said smoking and drinking with our kids, allowing teenagers to live in your home, sleeping in the same room, allowing your kids to have guns in the home. Kids are making families in the parents' home, not in my family's home. You want to be grown? Here goes the door, period. Facts. We got to have standards, man. We got to have standards, man.
Yeah, I noticed that I got a 25-year-old about to be 26, and I got a 22-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had my children up in when I was up in my late 30s or something. I'm an old dad. You know what I'm saying? I'm a 61-year-old dad now with young adult children. So, a lot of things happen to our children when they say when I start noticing when they talk about the brain science. You know what I'm saying? That your brain ain't fully developed until you reach a certain age. So now my children is reaching that certain age of their brain is being fully developed, and that's because all the while their brain was being developed, I was monitoring that. You know what I'm saying? I was monitoring their growth. So when they did, like now, when they was in their teens, or even my son now being 22, his brain is almost fully developed because your brain don't get fully developed until you reach the age of 22, 25, fully developed. You know what I'm saying? So some of the choices that some children may be making at a young age, 16, 17, 18, even in their 20s, may not be correct decisions because their brain mental is different. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people may try to dispute that, but it's the truth. Certain things that went on in my life when I was a young boy, the decisions that I had to make, I didn't have to act those decisions out, but the environment that I put myself in, I did that. You know what I'm saying? So if my brain got fully developed once I went to prison. That's when my brain got fully developed because now I'm here. I got to take care of myself. I got to maintain my reputation. I gotta not say my reputation. I gotta maintain myself, And in prison, that's big on people are big on respect. If you gotta respect your respect. That's what it is. You could be the toughest and roughest guy everywhere, but they got another rough and tough guy there. So it's about
Facts.
respect. But I don't really like talking about in prison because we returning neighbors. You know what I'm saying? We're coming home and getting things situated out here allows me to help individuals, conquer some of the foes that they may have, you know what I'm saying, if their brain ain't all the way developed. But I noticed that, with my son growing up and with my daughter, some of the decisions that they was making growing up, and I had to check them like that ain't a good thought to do. You might want to go back in your brain and refigure that out so you could pass that class. You know what I'm saying? I
That's a
graduated.
fact. Tell me about this flyer we got up now, the Underdogs 180.
Well, that flyer, it came across my hold on, I'm gonna get my son his phone. It came across my live screen, and I don't see a location on it or a number to contact, but it's just something that I'm interested in doing. The brother that actually posted that is part of a Facebook group page that's on my Facebook page, and I posted our platform on his page, and
Okay.
he sent me that flyer.
For
So
sure. For sure. Well, we had our last couple minutes for today's episode, man. It's been a wonderful 2-hour episode today. If you're just now tapping in, please go back and rewatch the video, man. We're going to post it on all platforms, Facebook, YouTube, and we also have X, formerly known as Twitter. But before we go, man, we want to talk about the event we got coming up next weekend. We got the Father's Legacy. This is our second annual a Father's Legacy, Father's Day, barbecue, cookout. We got a special guest this time, man. We got a theme this year. It's called the silent strength, man. We recognizing the silent strength that our local fathers have. You know, the silent strength that they display without saying anything all the time, and they just being consistent, always coming through for us. So we want to give honor to those fathers, and we're gonna do something special this year. We're giving away Father of the Year trophies. And we're going to do this as an annual tradition every year from here on out. So please come to the event. We're going to have a sign-up table so that you can sign up your father or your father figure that you would like to honor for next year. And we're going to have the community vote on it because we want to do this every year. I think that fathers deserve honor, and we need to show some recognition to the outstanding fathers that we have in our community. And this will be something that we do as a community to change the narrative around our fathers and our local fathers. So make sure y'all come on out, man. Come on out and support. We're going to have some games, entertainment for the kids, resource tables. Plus, like I said, we got a special guest panel. These guys coming from Detroit with their group. They're called Healing While Helping. They're a group of all types of men from different walks of life. Some of them are case managers, mentors, psychologists, therapists, all types of things. And they want to come lead the conversation on men's mental health. And we want y'all to be there. So come through June 13th from 12 to 4 at the C-Store Deli. Once again, that's June 13th, 12 to 4 at the C-Store Deli. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Returning Neighbors podcast, man. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. And we out of here.
How do I turn to? How do I turn to?
Walk back in with a duffel bag, one key, one bus card, one last tag. Mama moved, phone dead, rent due. I know the block, but the block don't know you. Paperwork thick like a brick wall. Every form say sign here, I stall. Online page keep asking me to prove what I spent years trying to get loose. First day home, I don't sleep much. Window half open, hearing loose cuffs. My hands still shake when the door latch clicks. Still count steps like a cell block shift. I tell myself breathe, keep pace, but the same old alley got a new face. And everybody say keep your head up, like clean is easy when the whole world fed up. 72 hours, that's the test. Keep my feet on the floor, keep calm in my chest. 72 hours, don't let me slip. I need a steady hand and somebody